understand. So there you go. How funny. How are you, Gail?
I am doing great. How are you?
Good. I am good. So I'm just going to introduce you to Book Talk, who already know you, and also to my YouTube channel. This is the wonderful Gail Delaney, and we are going to be talking all things books, editing, and all that fun stuff. So, Gail, just for the benefit of everybody else who's going to be joining, watching in various forms, tell us about all the books that you've written and your
Oh
various,
my,
yeah. Give us a little rundown of what you've got out there at the moment.
okay. Well, I'll back up to when I started.
Yes, the beginning is a good place to start from.
And
Yes.
so right now, I think I lose track. I have three contemporary romances available. Um, One of them was the very first book I ever wrote for publication. It's called Precious Things. And after that, I went into writing science fiction, which
Wow.
I called it sci-fi, but I'm realizing now it's really more like science fiction with a really strong romantic element,
Yep.
but not necessarily sci-fi rom.
Yep.
That's what I'm currently. And then I also have a romantic suspense series
Yep.
called Baker Street Legacy. And as you might guess, it has a Sherlock Holmes bloodline
Fantastic.
to it.
Fantastic. And I
So
gather these are all adult books.
yes, I would
Yes.
categorize them all.
So
I
how
don't write,
yeah, how did
but
you go from contemporary romance to science fiction? I'm fascinated by that. Talk me through
I
that.
have I always loved science fiction. I grew up loving science fiction. I can remember being a kid, like first, second grade, and running up my driveway as soon as I got off the bus from school to watch Star Trek in syndication.
Wow.
I always loved it. And then I started writing, and I'm going to be 50. When I was young, girls didn't
Yeah,
write
didn't
science.
quite.
Yeah,
Quite right.
So I had written a few books a few years ago, and I was struggling finding the next story, right?
Yeah.
I kept trying different stories. And in between all of that, I was writing fan fiction. And
Ah,
it was science fiction based fan fiction off a
yeah.
sci-fi show that I wrote. And I had read excuse me, I had read a friend, they're like, why don't you just write science fiction?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I did.
So
So that's how,
we are talking space opera science fiction.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, some people call it space opera, although a lot of it takes place on
Oh,
Earth.
it does as well.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it does a little bit of both, but yeah, a lot of people have called it space opera because of the sweeping arcs of the stories, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
they are clones.
No, I mean, and
Not a,
it is amazing the umbrella term of science fiction. I mean, I write science fiction, but I do not write that kind of science fiction. I write genetics, things, think Jurassic Park, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's such a huge term when you think of science fiction or speculative
yeah.
of what you're going to get. So that's why we have these little
Mhm.
niches underneath that, don't we, to kind of explain a little bit more about
A little
where it's
bit.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you mentioned
exactly.
that you've been hugely into watching science fiction. What have been some of your favorite programs, or perhaps some of your inspiration over the years that you think might have inspired you to help write these books?
Well, the inspiration for the series,
Mm.
the fan fiction that I was writing at the time, was for Stargate SG-1.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I definitely tell people that my science fiction has a Stargate feel,
Okay.
uh, because it is set on Earth. It has a lot of military links,
Okay.
uh, humans, but there's also alien contact and working with aliens, and it's
Yeah.
set in the future of
Yeah.
Earth. So in that Star Trek, Stargate was definitely a huge influence for me. But my absolute favorite television show of all time is Farscape.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see. Yeah, fascinating.
I
Wow.
mean, it's very different because you have
Yeah,
Muppets,
yeah, yeah,
alien, but to me that is a space opera,
yeah.
and the story, the characters, and the story of that series, I have just never seen
Yeah.
paralleled
Yeah.
anywhere. Just
Incredible.
so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I love that.
But, but
And you're right about the female thing. I don't think I know a lot of other female authors who write, in-depth science fiction like you do.
Mm-hmm.
So we've moved from contemporary romance to science fiction, but you say you've got romance in your science fiction. Do you feel
Yes.
now that the genre that you're writing in now is where you're most comfortable? That's your happy place. You're blending your romance and your science fiction. You think you'll stay there?
I definitely will continue to write science fiction, mainly because I have more ideas for this
Brilliant.
universe that I've
Yeah.
created.
Yeah.
I've created it. I call it a saga. Oh, can you hear my dogs?
Yeah.
They're in the other room.
I got it. Yeah.
I have the door shut, so they can't.
No problem.
The science fiction that I write is I've decided to call it kind of a saga because I have these quad series within this bigger arc. So there's 2 series,
Okay.
but they're still a saga. And you read one series, then you read the next series, and I have ideas for down the road as well. So
Right.
once I get some other stuff finished up and probably
Yeah.
do a little contemporary there, bounce around, I'm going to come back to this universe that I've created and continue these characters, definitely.
So, if somebody was new to you and your books, where would you think is a good place to start?
People ask me that all the time. My first question would be, what genre would you prefer?
Yeah.
Science fiction, contemporary romance, or the romantic suspense.
Yeah.
For science fiction, you would start with the first book in the series, which is called The Phoenix Rebellion, Book 1, Revolution.
Brilliant.
Like romantic suspense, then right now, really all I have available is the 2 books in my Baker Street Legacy series.
Yeah.
So that would be Baker Street Legacy, Book 1, My Dear Branson.
Yeah.
If you're a contemporary reader, of the ones I have available, the one that I most highly recommend is called Something Better.
Okay.
It's a running joke with that book because when I was writing it, I had told my best friend that there were certain things that I just never saw myself writing. Okay. Yeah, I never saw myself writing a book set in Hollywood.
Okay.
It's set in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I never saw myself writing a book that had like a bigger than life, like actor kind of person.
Yeah. Like a Jackie Collins character. Yeah. Almost.
Most loved bachelor in Hollywood kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't ever going to write a character that was a writer because I felt like that was very Mary Sue. And the heroine is a writer.
I feel the same way about that. And there's a lot of books I've read where the main character is a writer, and I kind of feel like it's a cop-out. I feel like they're taking the whole write what you know a little bit too on the nose, like.
And I was always very hesitant because of that. But then I always said that I wouldn't write a book where there was a kiss very early in the book that would be I didn't feel like it was believable. Okay. But all of those in that book. And
like it.
Writing it, I'm not writing this book. I'm not writing this book. And she's like, how's that? I'm not writing.
Yeah. But obviously it poured out of you and was meant to be because it wanted to be. So you can't stop the baby from coming out, it's just going to do its own thing, isn't it? So it's going to be absolutely. Yeah. So what is it that you're working on at the moment? Are you doing more books in the science fiction series?
Yes. I am finishing up the 4th and final book in the 2nd series of the saga.
Brilliant.
So it's called Phoenix Rising, Book 4, Le Bear. Okay. It is right now the longest I've ever written, and I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
About 152,000 words.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm probably within at most 6 chapters from the end right now. So I am in the big climactic, I'm reaching up to and then it'll wrap up. I will be done, and that will wrap up that series.
Absolutely. Now,
it has been a long time.
Do you think you might need to split this into 2 books or get some chippy choppy scissors out? No. Okay.
No. It's all of the books in the series have been long.
Okay.
The last one was, I think, about 148,000 words.
Yeah.
So it's not way, way longer. It's just the longest that any of them have been. And there's really there's no break point.
No.
There's nothing that can leave
But I
this
think of
book.
that with my
Everything
business head on,
is,
and then I think of the print cost of that. That's a nightmare. Yeah. Oh, you're frozen. You know, you were there. So let's backtrack a little bit.
When I go to print,
yeah,
they are.
Yeah. I was going to backtrack a little bit and I wanted to know about your journey and how you got into where you are. So how did you first get involved in writing, and did you try the traditional route? Has it always been indie for you? So tell me a little bit about, what your experiences have been over the years that you've been writing. Yeah. If you can see me, are you frozen? Am I frozen?
Am I okay now?
Yeah, I can see you now. Perfect.
My path is probably slightly different than a lot of people, but I got the same place as a lot of people. So I was in my 20s when my mother passed away.
Okay.
And when I was helping my dad go through, all the boxes and things that she had this box that had absolutely everything I had ever written in my life. Like every poem, every short story, every book report, like everything. And I had always written, I had written stuff, but I hadn't written with the idea of publishing. So when I saw that, it kind of pushed me into accepting what she saw.
Yeah.
Right. So it was at that point that I started writing a book with the full intent of being published.
Yeah.
I will tell you that it's never been published because it's really bad.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I just wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I had an agent for a while, just didn't go anywhere with him. I did query to New York, all of that. At that point, I was querying the book that I mentioned earlier called Precious Things.
Okay.
And I kept running into a roadblock with that book in that my hero is completely deaf.
Okay.
And the publishing houses would say to me, your writing is amazing. The story is so good. The characters are wonderful, but we can't have a hero with a disability.
Yeah, that's not good.
They wanted me to switch it. They wanted me to make her deaf just because apparently it was okay for heroines to be deaf, and I wouldn't do it. So I ended up not being traditionally published for that reason. I went with a couple small presses early on that did a lot of publishing for me early on. But after being burned a couple of times.
Been there. Yeah.
I actually opened my own publishing house, which is that.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. And my best friend and I ran it for 10 years. I was, as we divided it up, I was the words. So I was the editor in chief. I did acquisitions, I did contracts, I oversaw the editing, all of that part. She was the pictures. So she was the marketing director. She did cover art. She saw cover art. She's an award-winning cover artist. Wow. She's just absolutely amazing. And then my husband did the numbers because he's an accountant. So.
Perfect.
So and we did that for about 10 years. Wow. And we kind of got to the point that we felt like we either needed to really push ahead and do a lot more than we were, or we needed to stop because we weren't, in our opinion, we were not doing as much as we could for our authors. We had 115 authors or so.
Wow. Yeah.
We published about 600 books at that point. Yeah. So we closed.
Yeah.
And at that point, I went full. So that's me now. Is I'm self-publishing everything. Yeah. I've got the knowledge to do that. I know how a lot of the things work.
Absolutely.
Who does me my thing and that, but that's my path. That's how I got here.
That's, I mean, and have all that knowledge of doing this, the publishing company. But did you feel when you started the publishing company, were there learning curves there that, you know, what was the most difficult challenge you faced, you know, during that time, do you think?
Ooh. We did a lot of research
Yeah,
on a lot of different, and it was like it was deciding what our focus was going to be. We made the choice to publish non-erotica.
yeah,
Time we actually got a lot of grief for it. You know, people like, well, that's what people want, and we argued that not everybody does.
true.
You know,
That's true.
we it could be spicy,
Yeah,
but we just didn't want to do the erotica.
yeah,
So that was something that we chose. We chose that we would never have a headless, bare-chested man on a cover.
yeah,
That was just a choice that she made, my
yeah,
best friend, because she's like, you look at a bookshelf
mm,
in a bookstore or on Amazon, they're all bare-chested men.
yeah,
So we wanted to stand out. So a lot of it was learning, but in 10 years, the publishing industry changed
yeah.
so.
I
It
bet.
was a constant learning curve, constant. We were constantly shifting focus, constantly seeing what else we could do for marketing, constantly finding out new options. When we started, print was not anything
Yeah,
we could, because Amazon was not doing print yet. Then they did Create Space, and we hopped on the Create Space train, that kind of thing. So in that time, it changed a lot. Just years before we opened, people were still buying books on CD
yeah,
to get an you know, you couldn't
yeah,
just download, had to
yeah,
buy it that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. That's incredible. And again, I think publishing is changing again. I think the whole
Oh yeah.
pandemic has forced them to take stock of how they are doing
Hmm.
things. I think it's a little bit reluctantly because, you know, publishing is old boys network and they, you know, they are stuck in their ways. Um, Traditional publishing, I will clarify that with. But
Hmm.
they're starting to realise that actually this book talk thing and this indie publishing thing is coming up to bite them on the ass, and
Yes.
they need to figure things out. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, yeah. So tell us about book talk. When did you first discover book talk, and how? Yeah.
uh, I discovered Book Talk almost a year ago. It will be a year in December, actually.
Wow.
So I was on TikTok before then, not posting,
Yeah.
solely because my daughter was on
Yeah.
TikTok and I wanted to watch her videos.
Yeah.
So I count, and when we moved in 2020, we moved from California to Florida,
Okay.
and I think the first video I ever posted was of my dog
Yeah.
Tommy. You can see him. He's
Oh, look at him. He's so cute. Oh,
so, yeah, he's sitting with me. He's always with me.
yeah.
So I did a video of him, and then I kind of maybe here and there did a video of our dogs or
Yeah.
something, and then uh, I found it was Easy Cat, which a lot of people follow.
Right.
Um, that I got, I started following him, and the algorithm started picking up on the fact that I liked books and things,
Yeah.
and it started showing me more and more book talk accounts,
Yeah.
and I started following them, and then I realized that it was this entire community,
Yeah.
and I jumped in with both feet. So it was late November, early December last year that I found book talk. My first book talk video, I guess, was early December, and it was one of those show us your bookshelves.
Yeah. I
And
think we've all done that, haven't we? Yeah.
yes,
You don't know what to
exactly.
do when you first get here, and it's just like, ah. Yeah.
And and that's what I started, was just
Yeah.
doing that, and then I just started posting here and there, and then I did some videos about editing, like self-editing,
Yeah.
as an editor, tips, and it's just grown from there. So,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
I will say that book talk
Yeah.
was what got me writing again.
Oh,
It was it. I went for about 5 years
wow.
without. Part of it was I was in a car accident, and it was a pretty bad car accident,
Yeah.
and it left me in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So to sit and
Yeah.
write was a struggle because I was working and, all of that,
Absolutely.
running the company. And so I wasn't writing.
Yeah.
And then I kind of lost the joy of it
Yeah.
and lost the need to do it.
Yeah.
And then when I came into Book Talk, it just was like a shot in the arm, right? It was a revival in me,
Absolutely.
and it got me writing again. I've been writing solid since February. So
that's fantastic. And I love that
yeah.
about Book Talk. I just think that, I have friends that enjoy books in my real life, but Book Talk is this special corner of the world where
Yeah.
you feel like you're validated when you've got 50 books on your shelf and you haven't read them yet. Nobody else understands that in my real life, but Book Talk does, and my husband just rolls his eyeballs at me when I have more Amazon packages coming in the door, like, what have you ordered now? And I'm like, don't blame me. Book Talk does it, But even that, it's like you can justify it, can't you, when you see other people as obsessed with books. And I think it's wonderful. I do. And I've been so worried about, especially as I write for teenagers, Netflix and TikTok taking over and all this kind of stuff. But when you see such a big community who are enjoying books, it really reinstills, your hope in the new generation. And I'm just like, yes, there are still readers out there. So absolutely, that's fantastic. So you are also an editor. So is that your day job? Is that what you've always done? Or is that another sideline kind of thing?
Well, so I was editing when I started in publishing before I had the publishing house. Okay. I was first an acquisitions editor, then an executive for a house.
Okay.
So that's where that kind of started. And then I rolled that into editor-in-chief for the publishing house. And while I oversaw a lot of editing, I also did a lot of the editing myself. So I actually recently quit my day job. Just a 9 to 5.
Of course you did. You've been doing posts about that. Of course you did. Yes.
Yeah, I did that.
Yes.
So now I do freelance editing for fiction novels. And I do content writing for a couple companies. It's just kind of a little extra money here and there. But I am now a freelance for hire.
Yeah. So if people want to hire you as an editor, do you do specific genres, or are you open to anything? And how do people get in touch with you if they want to use your services?
I have a very wide range of what I edit, but I do have some limitations simply because I don't feel like I'd be the best editor for them.
Yeah.
So, for instance, erotica, I have read it, but I haven't edited it.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I would be the best person to serve you in that.
Sure.
In that to that extent. But other than that, I'm pretty wide open.
Yeah.
From young adult, new adult, all the way up through. I do science fiction, fantasy, contemporary, romantic suspense. I do all of those. If people wanted to find out the extent of my services, costs, and reach me, they can actually go to my website, which is gaildelaney.com.
Yeah.
And on my website, there's a button that says editing services, and it breaks it down. So I do 3 different types of edits that you can hire me for. I will do content development.
Yep.
So it's, it's a read through to let you know what's working, what's not working, ideas, thoughts. And if I see a consistent kind of problem with, say, grammar and punctuation stuff, I will let you know.
Yes.
So that's one. I also do line editing, which is the really full, in-depth, get in on everything kind of edit. And then I will do proofreading as well. So that final read through for you. I do prefer to do only one of those 3 for any given book. Because, I personally believe that different eyes should do each step, because it's, once you've read it, you don't see it the same way. So like if I were to do development editing, when I do line editing, I've already seen the book.
Yeah.
And so my vision on it is maybe a
That's
little
right.
blurred.
That makes
That's,
sense now that you've said
yeah.
that. It does. I mean, there are lots of editors who will offer packages on using all three services with them. But
Mm-hmm.
what you say, I think, is, because not only do the authors get blind by what they're reading again and again, editors
Mm-hmm.
too. And I have an agent and she does as well. And she's like, well, I'm going to have to read it again, but I need to wait a month because I need some
Yes.
time. Everybody who's close to the book needs a little bit of rest time with that. So that
Mm-hmm.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And so are you able to edit your own work?
I do not do all the editing on my own work. No, I do, self-editing before it goes to a line editor, but I hire a line editor
Yeah.
because I believe even as a 15 plus year experienced editor,
Yeah.
you need to have another set of eyes.
Yeah.
So I hate saying this because I feel like I'm bragging, but when I get done with my book, it is pretty clean.
Okay.
It is pretty solid. There's not a whole lot of issues. There's very little that needs to be fixed or edited, but I do believe that I have to have somebody else look at it.
Yeah.
So I have somebody who's been my editor for a long time,
Yeah.
and she's the one that does it for me.
And sometimes it's even a confidence thing where if you get that box ticked and someone else has given you that green light, you're like, okay, yeah, I got that right.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
do you never, I mean, for me, when I'm editing, it's actually the big picture structural stuff that I get the most nervous about, because in my head I can think, oh, this is perfect, the character development is straight on,
Mhm.
and then I'll send it to my beta readers and I'll be like, well, why did he make that decision? And that, then I sit back and I think, So do you have people input into the structural plot side of things, or you do as well? Yeah. Yeah.
I have a woman that I call my alpha
Yeah.
reader.
Yeah.
Doesn't read the whole of the book, but I pass concepts by her. She is exceptionally familiar with my science fiction, very
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
all the characters trying to accomplish what I want to be the end. So when I say to her, well, I'm thinking about doing this,
Yeah.
or I'll for a scene and I'll ask her, what do you feel about it?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And she will give me input.
Yeah.
So she does that for me. And I do have 2 or 3 people that will read the book before it goes to the line editor
Yeah.
to get their input on it. They are, again, people who are very familiar with the series. I don't feel like I could just hand this book to somebody who's not familiar with the series. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like a million hours in this story arc. Like I told you, the long books. You have to understand everything that's happened before the book to understand what's going on in the book. They are not standard
Right.
at all. So I have people who do that. So they will give me input when I finish. Like I said, I got like 5 or 6 chapters left. When I'm done, they will get them.
Yeah.
They will read through and they will give me that bigger
Information. Yeah.
what
Absolutely.
works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask them, did I answer all your questions?
Okay.
Because it's the last book in this series,
Yes.
I want to make sure all the threads that I have laid out,
Yeah.
I tie up,
Yeah. That's good.
So yes, I use those.
So they're like a street team as well, I guess. And do you have a street team where when you're releasing a book, these people will shout about it on social media for you? What do you do for your marketing strategy when you're putting out a new book?
Unfortunately, since it's been so long since I put out a book,
That's true.
I don't have anybody right now.
Yeah.
I will worry about that in a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to start, that process because I'm going to do a few things as I release. I'm going to be rewriting my blurbs because, like I said, I'm shifting the focus a little bit to science fiction with romantic elements versus pitching it as romance solely. I mean, the romance is very, very prominent.
Yeah.
But there is also so much else that goes on in these books that
it's not fair to call it just romance. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what people have said they like about it, is that they like that there are these other relationships. There's father and son. There's, friendships. There's all of that going on. So I haven't fully solidified all of that yet because it has been so very long since I published a book. I'm worried about that, but
I mean,
working on
it's
it.
really interesting when you go to load up your book on KDP or you research your Amazon categories, and there's new categories emerging all the time. And it used to be just science fiction for adults, and then under that you've got genetics, you've got stuff,
Yeah.
10 different categories, and there's always romance and science fiction, or romance and dystopian, or right. And I love to see how all these subgenres are developing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
purely based on what readers are putting in. I don't know if you use Publishing Rocket at all, but it tells you what readers actually type into the Amazon search box, what they're looking
Okay.
for, and then you
Okay.
can use that as your categories. And it's a really clever tool. But there's just new stuff emerging all the time.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic, yeah, that you can have people definitely want science fiction with romance. People will type that in, so that's why you're seeing that demand, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. Yay, I can't wait to I need to check it. I'll have a long list of TikTok authors to get through their books. So I'm still
Oh,
reading
I know.
Ali's at the moment. Ali's book is very long.
Yes,
and then
it is.
I will get on to the rest of them. So yeah, it's got to be over 100k, that book. I'm sure it is, because it's high fantasy. So and I'll get there. So yes, do you ever find it difficult to go from your writing hat to your editing hat? I mean, and what is the hardest part of the writing process for you? What do you find the most challenging?
I do know that when I don't know about writing and editing, but definitely
Yeah.
reading and editing.
Okay.
Like when I'm reading a book, I have to go, you're not reading this book.
Yeah.
Just read the book.
Yes.
Going
Yes. Yes.
going from writing to editing, I think I've just been doing it for so long
Mm.
that I don't have trouble doing that. I
Yeah.
can done with one thing and move on. Like the other night I wrote a scene, I finished, I looked at the time and I said, well, I don't have quite enough time to really do another scene. So I spent the rest of my thing
Reading.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go back and forth like that pretty easily. As far as the biggest challenge for me is really I can't say time anymore because now I have more time, but it is switching the focus of my brain
Yeah.
to writing at any given time, because I always feel like, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. Oh, maybe I should go do that. Like even today, I went to the grocery store. I baked Irish soda bread. I did some laundry. I made a couple phone calls because we're going to be traveling again in a couple of weeks. For a couple of weeks, we're going to be away from home, so I'm trying to get a lot of things organized for that. And then I got, I sat down and I did some writing before today's interview. So
that's good. It is hard, and I think when you're at home, because I'm at home all the time. I mean, I'm also mum because I've got 3 boys. I am quite driven. So if I'm not at my laptop when I'm at home, I'm feeling guilty. But there are days, like I swim quite regularly, and on a Wednesday we get our online grocery delivery. And if my husband's in London and the dog needs to be walked, and I'm not at my computer until lunchtime, and I don't like it, because I'm like, I want to get more done than just a couple of hours in the afternoon,
Yeah.
So it's tricky trying to find the routine, and also forgiving yourself when real life when it needs attention. Dogs
and it's been an odd shift in the house as of late, because I have an office, but you'll notice I'm in my bedroom doing this because my son has claimed my office. So it's a bit of a shift. Well, he's working full time now because he graduated university in May. So now he's working full time, but he works remote.
Okay.
And he had to have a direct line to right? He had to be hardlined. And the only way to do that was for him to be in my office, because that's where the modem is. So we have 2 in my office now, mine and his. And I don't fit in there very much. I don't want to distract him.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, before the pandemic, we were doing a house redevelopment, and we included this office for me, which is where I am. my office slash library. And, you know, my husband was in London every day, and obviously now he's not. So he gets to sit at the kitchen breakfast bar. I'm like, we have 2 desks in here, but I'm like, you're not coming in here because I can't concentrate when you're on your conference calls. No, not happening. And I've got to have the door shut. I can still hear him. So totally. But I love that how your daughter has obviously recently gone to university, isn't she? And you've got your son back though. So that's
Yeah.
quite nice.
Yeah. It definitely, the 2020 and now 2021 has been a lot of changes
Yeah.
in the family. I mean, we moved from California to Florida. We built a house here.
Wow.
Then we found out our daughter was getting married. So then we planned the wedding in the backyard, and our son was at university, and now she's moved away, and now he's moved back home. And today,
What's going on? Yeah.
today is
I've got to ask where in California you were living, because I'm actually from California. I know I don't sound like it. But yeah, I grew up in Orange County, so I wonder.
okay.
Yeah.
We were in LA County, but we were in Santa Clarita.
Okay.
It's a little bit, it was a little bit south of, no,
north
of.
Yeah.
So, but Caitlin, my daughter, actually went to college in Costa Mesa.
Right. Oh, right. That was really close. We were in Santa Ana. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I love these little connections. Makes me all nostalgic. Yeah. And you'll find, I mean, a lot of my books are actually set in the States and California, because it's like, and I grew up reading American books, so that's my happy place. So they're all set, you know, in places that I lived or visited or things like that. Yeah. So with your writing process, what is your process? How do you go from idea to finished product?
I am totally a pantser.
Are you? Naughty.
And which is funny when you consider the complexity of science fiction that I write.
Yes.
Just amazing. I'm always amazed when things fall together and actually work. I'm like, wow, cool.
Yeah.
I usually start a book with a general concept. I call it like A, L, and Z, right?
Yeah.
I know a couple main points, and I know how I want it to end, how I want it to wrap up. And I know the characters pretty solidly. But how I go from A to B to LMNOP is often just as much a surprise to me as so no, I don't. I mean, I know people who do the big plotting and they have the walls of post-it notes and the thing, and I can't do it. I actually tried once.
I can't. I can't do the serial killer string and the post-its. That's a bit. I mean, I do plot and I use spreadsheets because I like a spreadsheet. I'm mathematical, but yeah, there are some plotting that I've seen that I'm just like. But you got to do what works for you. Everyone's process is different. So
that's a big thing. Anybody asks me, well, what should I do? You know, should I plot? Should I? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you. You have to.
Absolutely.
I have a good friend. She was on TikTok briefly, but with some health issues, she hasn't been. But her name is Esther Mitchell, and she will be writing 6 or 8 books at the same time. But they're all interconnected. That's the amazing thing, is they all wrap around each other and they all connect to each other, and everything that happens at a time. And you can ask her, and she may not have written that part yet. But she'll be like, okay, well, that's going to happen and this is going to happen. It's all in her head.
Right.
And completely blown away when I hear, because I can't do that. I'm a linear writer.
Yes.
I cannot write 12 if I have not written chapter 11.
Yeah.
I have to put it in order. All over the place. She'll just write a scene and it works.
I can't do that. I am also linear. I think not only does it screw with my OCD, but I also feel that the tone or the mood or the character might not quite fit by the time I get there, and then it has to be rewritten anyway. So things change. I mean, as much as I plot, things still change,
Yeah.
and I can't write out a sequence. But if I know there's a scene coming that I'm particularly excited about, then it does motivate me to write as quickly as I can to get there, so that I can
Hmm.
enjoy that particular scene. So it does spur me on, which I think is a good thing. So yeah, and make it all exciting, absolutely, yeah. So, what's beyond your sci-fi series, or do you have other things planned? A new
Well,
series? Yeah, maybe.
I have to finish up after I finish this book to wrap up this series. I
Mm.
have to go back to my Baker Street Legacy series and write the third and last book in that series. They were both series that I'm sorry, excuse me. I was writing both of these series at the time that I had my car accident. So I had they both kind of came to a screeching halt. Uh, so I have to do, once I finish this book and get it ready to go, I will finish the third book
Yeah,
in the Baker
do
Street,
that. Yeah,
which will end that series as well. So that's another hefty
brilliant.
book series. The books usually run around 125, 130,000 words.
Wow. So is that
Um,
historical?
that no, they are contemporary.
Are they? Okay.
They are, yeah, it's a Sherlock Holmes bloodline. So
Yeah.
the hero
Okay.
is Grayson Oliver Sherlock Holmes,
Okay.
and he's the great grandson of Sherlock Holmes,
Brilliant.
and he is an MI6 officer.
Brilliant. Oh, I love
And
it. I love it.
yeah, so that series is actually a bigger challenge for me than science fiction
Okay.
because um, there's a few reasons. Because one, Grayson is absolutely brilliant. So he is 10 times more intelligent than I could ever be.
Yeah.
So when I write
Yeah.
him, I have to write like I know what I'm talking about. Um, I have to, I do a lot of tie-in with the Conan Doyle stories
Yeah.
because he grew up knowing that he was the great grandson of Sherlock Holmes, who
Yeah.
is real in this universe. Um, my heroine is American, and the books actually shift back and forth between Boston and London.
Okay.
And so when I'm writing in London, I have to look up a lot of stuff. And I call them my Brit betas.
Yeah.
So I have a couple people that I run stuff by. I'm like, do I sound like an American trying to sound British,
Yeah.
or does this actually, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
so that is a challenge. So
Yeah.
I actually find that series to be a much bigger challenge
Yeah.
to incorporate real and existing things, where with science fiction
Yeah. You can make it up.
there's some elements of truth,
Yeah.
of theoretical truth, but you
Yeah.
can kind of have fun with it. So
Yeah.
so that's my next project. I'm hoping to have that done for release maybe early to mid next year, because I've
Yeah.
got about 35,000 words on it already written.
So how
I,
long does it take you to write a first draft then?
prior to recent,
Yes.
prior to the accident,
Yeah.
I could write a first draft, which was very close to a final draft for me,
Yeah.
probably within 6 months.
Yeah.
Because they're I write good books and I
Yeah.
cannot lie.
Yeah.
Uh, but I used to write them fairly quickly,
Yeah.
which was why I was not worried at the time about having two series going. I was kind of alternating back and forth,
Yeah.
write one sci-fi, write, and I was alternating, and it was fine because I would write them very, very fast
Yeah.
in comparison. But then,
Yeah.
so I can't say how long things
Yeah.
will take.
Yeah. It will be as long as it will be, won't it? And that will be that.
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you have a is there a particularly favorite scene that you've written within any of your books that you really enjoy, or one that you found
Oh,
particularly challenging to write?
wow. That is,
Mm.
um,
Or not? You might, if nothing comes to mind, that's fine too.
well, I think there's one scene that has always stayed with me, and it goes back several books in this sci-fi series.
Yeah.
And I talk about him often, and anybody, like I see Cindy Kukas is in the chat. She knows what I'm talking about when I talk about Michael Tanner. He is one of the main, really kind of the main character in the science fiction series. And I'm really sad that he doesn't exist. Like
Yeah.
there's, you know,
I love it.
he's so amazing that
Yeah.
sad that he never will exist. But there was this scene. I don't feel like I'm giving up too much of a spoiler because it really is the first book and it was really long ago. He his entire life up to the point of the book was awful. He was a prisoner. He was basically like a lab rat. He was tortured. He was, all of these things. And yet he has this compassionate soul. And that's what I love about him. But in this scene that I'm thinking about, he was rescued by his father, who never knew he was alive. So that, you can't hold it against his father not knowing this, but his father. And it's like the morning after the rescue, and they're trying to help him, Michael, help him realize he's free, help him, all of this. And his father takes him to breakfast. And Michael has never really eaten an amazing breakfast, right? So Michael is about 25 at this point. He's an adult, but he's never sat down and had bacon and eggs or pancakes or anything. And the scene is his father teaching him how to put butter on your pancakes.
Oh, yes.
It's a scene that has stayed with me through the entirety of the series, and it really established them as father and son.
Yeah.
And the father is also very, very key. Well, I write as a cast.
Yeah.
It's like an ensemble of characters. So there's a lot of people happening in this series. But these two, Nick and Hannah, are so key to the whole thing.
Wow.
And this is really the establishment of their relationship as father and son. So I would have to say that's probably one of
I love the way you've described that. I just think it's such a simple scene, but you can almost see it symptomatically, and but it's also this big moment of it, and it's not just about breakfast, I think that's gorgeous. I love it. I want to see the movie now. And read the book. I will absolutely be reading the book. It sounds fantastic. Yeah. So I've had some fun. I think that's most of my big, proper grown-up publishing questions. So I have a few fun questions to end on. So as a writer, what would you choose as your sort of mascot or spirit animal?
I always claim as my spirit. I don't know if it has anything to do with writing, but this is my spirit animal. Fizzgig from the Dark Crystal. Do you know the Dark?
I do. Yes, of course. I grew up with the Dark Crystal. Love the Dark Crystal.
Little fuzzball.
Yes.
Pet.
Yes. Yes. This is the best answer I've had to this question. I love it. Sorry for all the other authors who've done this interview.
Can't get what he wants. He's like,
yes, yes, that's brilliant. Did you watch the new Netflix? Was it Netflix series of the Dark Crystal? Yeah.
I haven't. I oddly, as a writer, I don't watch a whole lot of fiction. I watch a lot of documentary stuff, but I actually have a Fizzgig hand puppet in my office.
That's fantastic. Oh, that is your mascot. I want to see more TikToks with Fizzgig in your videos. That's your mission. I bet you could even find an appropriate sound for him somewhere on TikTok.
I'll have.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. Okay, if you could only eat one meal and drink one drink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Drink is easy. Coffee.
Okay.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Eat. Probably. This is where Michael gets it. His love of breakfast, like bacon and eggs, kind of. Maybe some toast. Breakfast. Yeah.
It is. It's comfort food. It's soul food. You can eat it at any time of day. You can have it for dinner. Yeah, I get that. I want ice cream, but that's just me. Do you have a favorite biscuit or cookie?
I like simple cookies.
Yeah.
I like butter cookie
Yes.
or something very
Yeah.
simple like that. Yes. Or even just oatmeal
See, you would
cookie.
do well in the UK then, because we have we have nice cookies too, but so there's a difference between a cookie and a biscuit. So a cookie would be like your chocolate chip extravaganza. Your biscuit is like kind of like your graham cracker, which we call a digestive, we have nice biscuits, which they're like just like a butter cookie with a bit of sprinkled sugar, basically,
Yeah.
and ginger nuts. So those are biscuits.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do well. You do well here. Yeah. There we go. What is your favorite color?
Red.
Red. Yes.
Red.
Red's a good color.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I was going to say, do you have any pets? But we know that you do because we've already seen Tommy. Is he still on the bed next to you? Love a Tommy.
I know.
Yeah. Oh,
bless
him. Bless him. What a cutie. What a cutie. Right. Would you pick Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Marvel, yeah. Yeah.
Simply because I could continuously watch Tom Hiddleston.
Ah, you're a Loki fan. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's doing it for a lot of people, I think, at the moment. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of fan fiction, let's put it that way.
Oh yeah. My daughter actually is the one that I hate to put it this way, but turned me on to Tom Hiddleston. She was like, "Mom, you got to watch him." And I watched a few things, and then he was Loki and stuff. And I was like,
"Wow, yeah." And he's a phenomenal actor because he does so many different things, and does them so well that that's a sign of a true talent, really, isn't it? That and that you even don't almost recognize him between one thing to the next because he's changed so much,
Yep.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. Okay, there's two parts to this next question because they are different. What 3 books would you take to a desert island or give to an alien?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think you might answer these differently. You might not, but you can if you want to.
Well, let's see. I think they would be different. They would, because one is just what entertains me.
Exactly.
And to get, you want to, it's more like an education, right?
Yeah.
Take to an island, I would take probably the very first romance novel that actually really stuck in my head for a really long time that I hang on to. It's called Ever After by Catherine. Love it. I would take I'd get her to put it all in one book. I would take the woman I was talking about, Esther Mitchell. She has this series called Guardians Inc. Witch Hollow.
Ooh.
It is a suspense series with paranormal elements, and I love it. It is like one of my
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she's amazing when it comes to that. Yeah. Third book. Can I take a notebook? That I can write. Does that count?
Not a bad idea. Yeah, you can take like a whole refill pad of 6 slabs of,
Yep. Really thick. There you go.
Yeah. That's clever.
To an alien. Wow, that is tough. Because honestly, what I keep thinking of is to give an alien books that we have written about aliens.
Oh, that would be
like,
cool. Yeah.
This is how people might see you, kind of thing.
That's a really good idea. Because I think when I thought this, I immediately went to the Bible and I thought, no, that's a really bad choice because that's more of that's not good at all.
No.
But and people are going War and Peace or, but actually I think, because we want them to know how we feel about them or what we might be afraid of.
Right.
Yeah.
if you went with the idea of the Bible, I think that you would have to also give like the Quran,
Yes.
other holy books,
But also,
so that they,
yeah, also probably an atheist,
right,
you know,
to give them a
balance.
have the different
Yeah,
views of things beyond us. So, but
absolutely.
that's an
Yeah. Then I thought maybe like the complete works of Shakespeare. I don't know. I quite like Shakespeare, but
oh, I love Shakespeare.
yeah, yeah, maybe, yeah. You know, it's an iconic part of our history, and we still study his text. You know, 600 years
Mhm.
later. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, I think.
Yeah,
But I love your idea of, yeah, other books about aliens. I think that's a I think that's great. Right, your last question. Do
mm.
you have any talents that would help you survive the Hunger Games?
No,
I love your face. That was brilliant.
no.
Best
I,
reaction ever.
I crochet. I
Oh,
could make blankets.
crochet. You
There you,
keep people warm.
there you go.
You
That's
might,
what I can do. Is I can,
yeah, you might be able to make a tent. You know, sleeping
yep.
bag. Yeah, that's good. Those are good survival skills.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah, I love
But beyond
it.
that, I'm deaf and blind to,
Yeah,
to be. If anybody took my classes, I
first
would
to
be.
die.
Yeah, yeah. I can't run away from anything, so you know.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't think many would survive the Hunger Games, to be honest. No,
Mm-mm.
there we go. Well, that is the end of our chat. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been a delight to learn more about you and your journey and what you're all about. And I'd love to have you back on again after the book is out, and we can chat more about that. That would be fantastic. So, yay! Yay.
I just got to get
Yeah, you will.
have
You'll
it
get there. Yeah.
release it in October
Mhm.
on my birthday because
Yeah.
I figure that would. But I don't think that's not going to happen because I got waylaid with the drama that we
Absolutely.
had going on at my house in Maine and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
that's another whole story.
Yeah.
But maybe November.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get.
Yeah, November's a good month. It's good. It's
Yeah,
you know, it's getting, well, at least here it's getting cold and wintry and you want to curl up with a book while it's raining. Florida, you know, sunny all the time, not so much. But you know,
it gets
yeah.
a little.
Yeah.
It might be in the 50s. You know,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. There you go. Read by the pool. That's what you can
yeah,
do. Watch the crocodiles, yeah, you know, swim
yeah.
out of the bushes and have a dip. Yeah. There we go. Well, Gail, thank you so much for joining me, and
Thank
I will send you the link to the YouTube channel when it's up, and we'll do it again soon. There we go.
Great
Thank you.
so much.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.